Welcome to today's episode. I would like to thank all my returning subscribers for always sticking with me and watching my videos to the end. And if it's your first time chancing on my video, I would like to also welcome you to today's episode. My name is Vicky Van, and on this channel, I talk about migrating to the UK, life opportunities in the UK, and some realities we face in the UK as an immigrant that nobody really talks about. Today, I'm going to reveal the biggest secret to make your life easier in the UK as an immigrant. Yeah, you heard me right. I mean, the biggest secret to make your life easier in the UK as an immigrant. If this is something that interests you, kindly stay tuned.
You know just what you do to me. Play my emotions like a pair of...
I would like to go straight to the point. If I'm to make a scale of preference in terms of education and driving, I would put my driving as the main priority in my scale of preference. Yes, you heard me right. If I'm to prepare a scale of preference, I'm going to definitely put my driving as my main priority even before education. Why am I saying this? You know, in the UK, as immigrants, most of us don't have our relatives here to help us, especially with childcare. And one of the saddest parts is if you're a mother and a wife, and also if you work as well, it becomes so hectic if you don't drive. Driving is very essential. To me, I would always advise that immediately you get into the UK, the most important thing to look out for is to make sure you get your driving license. Yes, even before education. You heard me right. To get your driving license even before you get your education. Why am I saying this? When you drive in the UK, it makes your life so easier. For instance, if you are going to work and the distance from where you stay to your workplace is 30 minutes and you have to go with a bus, it can take you 2 hours or even more than that. But if you drive, you just need to anticipate maybe 40 minutes and you will get to your workplace. It's more convenient and it saves time. As we all know, time is money. You heard me right. Time is money. So this makes it very essential that when you come into the UK, in as much as you are looking out for other things, try to put at the back of your mind that you are going to get your driving license. Don't be carried out with always work. But trust me, if you pass your driving license, it's going to make life easier for you. Mind you, in as much as, especially in the healthcare sector, most of the jobs that they advertise, sometimes they don't indicate that driving is priority. But mind you, most of the time they consider that, even though they wouldn't tell you. If it's only just one vacancy and party A has a driving license and party B doesn't have a driving license and they all meet the criteria, they all did well in the interview, party A is likely to be employed, especially if it's just one vacancy, because they know that party A will be more reliable. And we all know that sometimes in the care sector, when you are working and there are emergency cases, sometimes you end up sending a service user to the hospital, especially those that work in the care homes or in supported living or even in residential or even respite. All these types of care settings, most of the time they need people that drive, even though they might not state it that it's important, but they normally prefer employers that drive as compared to employers that do not drive. I'm going to give my own personal experience as to how to help you to be able to pass your driving, especially even if you're a first time driver. Because for me, for example, I never drove back home. I had no driving experience. So if you are in the UK and you want to plan on preparing for your driving test, I would advise that you first prepare for your theory test before you think of the practical aspect, because most instructors would ask you for the first time whether you've already written your theory test. So with the theory test, I never bought any book. What I did was I went online to Google Play Store. I went to Play Store just to download Theory Test UK, and I had this particular one that I had to pay just, I think, £4.99. Driving is very essential because moving from one place to the other normally requires transportation. In as much as the bus system is very accessible, note that it's not accessible in every city in the UK. There are some places, especially outskirts, there are some places that the bus system comes every 1 hour. Every 1 hour, you heard me right. So for example, imagine you have a job, you have a job to do, or you have to go to work around 9 a.m. and you get to the bus stop and you've missed your bus. That means you are going to stay at the bus station for the next hour, that is around 10 a.m. And that means you are definitely going to be late at work. So you can imagine, and we all know that in the UK, you don't joke with your time when it comes to work. You make sure you get to work on time. To write the theory test. The theory test is done online. What you do is you check the test centers that is closer to you. You normally check the test centers that is closer to you. The theory test is done online, but you need to go to a particular test center to write the theory, but it's still done online. And after you've passed your theory, have it in mind that the theory test expires within 2 years. So if you wrote it in May 2023, it's going to expire in May 2025. So you need to keep that in mind. Immediately you pass your theory, you try to work towards your practical. And with your practical, if you want to book a lesson and you call a particular driving school and they give you an instructor, what I would advise, for my personal experience, what I would advise is don't pay a lot for your first encounter with an instructor. Don't engage in block booking. That's what I want you to get. Don't engage in block booking. When we talk of block booking, for example, you booking like 10 hours with an instructor. Normally with a block booking, you get some discount on it. But since it's your first time meeting the instructor, you might not really like the way the instructor explains things to you. It's not by force that you have to go by that same instructor. If that instructor is not really helping you, maybe probably because of the accent, you don't really get what the instructor is teaching you, it's not advisable to continue with that instructor. So I would advise that your first time you just book probably just 2 hours. What I used to do is every lesson I book 2 hours. Every lesson with an instructor, I book 2 hours with that instructor. So with your first encounter, when you book that 2 hours and you go with the instructor, after the 2 hours, you can tell if indeed this instructor is good or not. So that you don't end up committing yourself by paying for a lot of hours. Meanwhile, you are not really getting the value that you need to get from the instructor. So also put that in mind. We've come to the end of today's episode, and please, I would like to encourage you, if you are scared of doing your driving, I would want to encourage you that you can do it. I was someone who was so scared. I never knew I was going to drive. I never knew I was ever going to drive. But you out there watching me, I just want to encourage you. Yes, you can. As the Bible says, we can do everything through Christ that strengthens us. So have faith that yes, you can. If you drive, it makes life easier, especially if you're a mom. You need to do school rounds, you need to go to the shop, you need to do other stuffs. It makes life so easier. If not easier, it makes life a bit easier and comfortable for you and your kids.